Good afternoon. My name is Stuart Reenoff. I'm with Cushman & Wakefield. We are the leasing agents for 300 West Pratt Street in Baltimore, and we are excited to introduce Dan McCauley and Drew Romanic with the Martin Architectural Group, who are current occupants in the building, and we look forward to speaking with them about their business and their activities here in the Baltimore market.
I'm Edward Warfield. I'm the publisher of Citybiz. I'm honored today to interview Drew Romanic and Daniel McCauley, who are principals and partners at the Martin Architectural Group. Welcome, Drew and Daniel.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Evan.
Drew, give us a little history of where the Martin Architectural Group is today in terms of what you do, how many offices, how many architects are on board.
Well, the firm's about 54 years old. It was begun by Richard Martin and a couple other partners back in '67 to focus on small lot developers for multifamily and master planning a different way to make apartment complexes back then. Up until the point of the founding of Martin Architectural Group, most of the large apartment complexes were done by institutions, and they were barrack style and not necessarily very pretty. So Dick Martin saw a niche in the market and decided to exploit it and grew the firm over the years, and subsequently retired in about 2007. That began the next generation of ownership, which includes myself, Dan, and our third partner, Jim Riviello. We have the main office in Philadelphia. We have an office here in Baltimore at 300 West Pratt, where we're speaking to you from today. And we also have an office in Coconut Creek, Florida. Overall staff count at this point is between 35 and 40. We have about 10 registered architects on staff throughout all the offices. And each office is fully manned and capable of servicing those market areas directly.
Can you provide some milestones since your founding in 1967, some of the key projects, buildings that you guys were involved in?
Over the years, we developed a lot of multifamily products in the rental apartment and condominium areas for Beazer Homes, Centex, Pulte Homes, Toll Brothers, K. Hovnanian. Pretty much everybody that's on the stock exchange that does development, we've worked for over the 50-some years of the firm. Locally, we were blessed to work with Greenberg Gibbons Commercial at the beginning as Irwin L. Greenberg with the Village at Watt Chapel, and that parlayed into Hunt Valley Town Center, redevelopment of Laurel Mall into the Town Center at Laurel, redevelopment of Parole Mall at Annapolis to Annapolis Town Center. We did master planning of many other projects with them and others on the mall redevelopment side. And that is something that is a deep passion for me, is taking a dead or dying mall and repositioning it to get its next life and its next use for the community it serves.
And so let's provide some highlights from your career. And when did you decide to get into retail?
Through the years, we ducked in and out of retail with the market, but it really became part of the exercise with master planning and land planning that we also do. We'll begin with site density studies for developers to help them figure out highest and best use on the site. And that oftentimes includes mixed use, including retail, office, multifamily, hotel, and other hospitality uses. And as we go through that process, we like to be the architect for the entire project, but not always the case. Also, when we're working with retail developer clients like Greenberg Gibbons Commercial and BET Investments, sometimes they need a residential development partner to come on board for the multifamily. And we have a lot of alliances with multifamily developers we've worked through the years with, and we can help partner them. And that actually speaks to some of the things Dan's going to touch on.
So you mentioned Greenberg Gibbons Commercial. Can you tell us about the projects and a little more detail on the history of that relationship?
We began our relationship, as I said, with Irwin Greenberg when Brian Gibbons was joining him to form what is now Greenberg Gibbons Commercial. And our first real project with them was the Village at Watt Chapel, which was initially developed by Bob DiStefano and Sturbridge Homes. We were the master architect for that entire site, had contributions on the master development standards, and governed the architecture of that original village that then about 15 years later evolved into the town center directly south. We actually like to call that area in Watt Chapel on Route 3 the Miracle Mile, because you start north of Watt Chapel Road with a Centex project, and you can go approximately a mile before you get past the project that we've done. So contiguously, we've helped different developers create about 200 acres of mixed use in concise packages and like the evolution of things as you go down Route 3. After the Village of Watt Chapel, there was a street credibility that allowed Greenberg Gibbons to purchase the Hunt Valley Mall and redevelop it into Hunt Valley Town Center. And they were successful in garnering the first Wegmans market in Maryland for that site. And that was really the driving force in the redevelopment for the town center. And I've been lucky to be working on that project almost contiguously for the last 15 years.
So Dan's going to talk a little bit about some of your projects in Maryland. Can you tell us about some of your projects in Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia area, and Florida?
Sure. One of the last mall redevelopments we finished successfully was Granite Run Mall, which is now called the Promenade at Granite Run. It was approximately 1 million square feet of retail. They dressed it down to about 500,000 square feet of retail and introduced 2 different phases of multifamily residential to the site as the rebirth or the revision of the mall. We've to date built, and I think they're 100% leased on phase 1 of the residential apartments there. They sit on the north side of the site. The site is interesting because there's an active gas pipeline that bisects it. So the site planning of the redevelopment was very challenging. We would have taken some other advantages if the site wasn't as bifurcated as it is. Also in the Florida market, we're working on several municipal projects. Golden Beach is a community center and mixed-use project that has a multi-family component, as well as courthouse and municipal offices in a separate building. Also, we've been working with Beazer Homes in Lake Nona, Florida, up in Orlando area, for the last 25 years. And we've just repositioned and rebranded what we call the mansion product for them. And we're on building number 5 or 6 on one of the latest developments there in Lake Nona for Beazer.
Well, Drew, I want to thank you for you sharing your part of the story, and now we're going to let Dan take over. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you very much.
Dan, let's talk a little bit about your career. When your career focused on multifamily, can you tell us when did you arrive at the Martin Architecture Group, and when did you decide to get focused on multifamily?
Sure. So my interest in multifamily actually came from my choice to go from my previous job and move forward. The job I had previously was my first job ever out of college. I worked for Toll Architecture at Toll Brothers. So my roots are in residential home building and design. And I started there in the print room and worked my way up through draftsman and computer draftsman, job captain, senior job captain. And when I left, I was in charge of 12-person team, 16 states, and $300 to $400 million worth of construction a year. And it was a great learning experience for me, and I really needed the next challenge in my life. So I'd gone through pretty much what I felt I could there and went and looked for a way that I could advance my multifamily townhouse and single family knowledge into larger projects. And I interviewed with several firms in Philadelphia that I had interest in, and I chose the Martin Architectural Group. And that was good because they gave me the right opportunities to explore larger, more complex projects than I would have had a chance to if I stayed with Toll Architecture.
So Bozzuto is one of your clients. Can you tell us about some of the projects that you've been involved with?
Absolutely. And so it's interesting enough, Bizzuto was one of my first multifamily projects when I came to Martin. In about 2009, we started working on our first project ever with Bizzuto Development. And that was called the Beacon at Whitechapel. And oddly enough, it is what we call a horizontal mixed use. So it is located within the Whitechapel Town Center that Drew was referencing. So we had 3 clients on that project. We had the overall site that was controlled by Reliable Contracting, Greenberg Gibbons Commercial that was doing all the commercial work themselves, and then they sold the portion of residential land over to Bizzuto Development. So that was really our first project with them, and my first project with them also. And it was what I would call a straightforward 4-story stick frame building, surface parking, really a fairly standard high density, low cost ratio as far as multifamily goes. And it was a $36 million job, and that came in over $1 million under budget and 4 months early. So that really propelled us to be able to continue that relationship, which we are all about. And we got another project shortly after that, which was the next phase of Whitechapel, and it's a project called the Monarch, which we've completed recently. Very similar in overall scope. It was a $45 million project. It was 246 units, surface parking. But the really important part is that during that project, we actually got a chance to interview with Bizzuto for the largest project they ever endeavored. So we came in as a potential architect of record to complement an existing design architect they had. And so we started with what was a $36 million job, and within 5 years, they gave us the opportunity to do a $200 million 3-building, 530-unit complex. 3 buildings. It is, one of them is a wood frame apartment building over a grocer podium. The other 2 are post-tension concrete structures, completely different than the type they had before. And then they also had what is now a 3-story subterranean parking garage, which really goes to show the trust they have with us to take it that far.
Well, that's an illustrious history.
And we're working on through all our projects with them as well.
Thanks for sharing that. They're a well-known and prestigious client, and I know they are sticklers for details, so you should be proud of them as a client.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about the rest of the team?
Yeah, we have varying stages of experience level. We've got people that have been with us for three years or less, and people that have been with us for over 20 years. Our partner, Jim Riviello, it was his first job out of college, and he's been with Martin Architectural for 35 years. I've been with Martin Architectural for 23. Dan's a 14-year tenure, and we keep going down the list. We've got burgeoning interns, developing architects, as well as people that are journeymen and really understanding their craft and leading the younger staff along. What we try to do is foster the relationship with the client relative to the project. For instance, I've got a young architect intern who's working on projects with a client in Connecticut, and the ownership of the project is very important when they become familiar and understand the client dynamics. And when it really clicks, it's an awesome thing to observe. We are first and foremost about the relationship with the client. We don't necessarily chase projects specifically. We look for clients that we believe work with integrity and honesty, because that's how we work. And we also believe in, ultimate level of service and dedication to the client. One thing that we tell our prospective clients is that when you hire us, the principals are always involved at some level. We're not just going to sell the job and you're never going to see us again. We're there at the kickoff meetings for the projects. We're there at the groundbreakings. We're there at the site inspections for construction as the process moves forward. And it's really cool to know that we're working with people that have been around twice as long as we've been in the business. and we're getting to know the next generation of those developer groups. And we're looking forward to working with them until we retire and our younger staff can take over.
Well, let's highlight some of the Maryland projects. I don't think you've mentioned McHenry Row, but that's obviously a very signature project. So can you bring us up to date on some of your recent Maryland projects and any that are in the queue?
Right now, we're working with the TAPCO companies and Dolphin Properties on phase one at Beltway Plaza in Greenbelt. That's going through detailed site plan submission with Prince George's County and about a half dozen other municipality and advisory boards that go along with the Greenbelt district. We've been fortunate to be selected to be part of the phase one redevelopment with Quantum Companies as the owner master developer. And Rogers Consulting has done a hell of a job taking it through the initial sector plan approvals. We were called by Dolbin and to TAPCO because of our relationship with Dolbin over the years. We've worked with Dolbin companies for about 25 years. Actually, we worked with them just around the corner from Watt Chapel in Piney Orchard back in the early 90s. So again, it goes back to client relationship and the evolution of that and continuing to get the calls from clients who appreciate our efforts and our values and our talents.
Yeah, and Edwin, before we came here, we were actually on site with Kevin Berman at Berman Enterprises, touring the project we completed a year and a half ago with him at just off of the Mark Station in New Carrollton. So it's a project called the Remy that we were the master planner for the entire site of phase one, phase two, as well as the office building there. So that was a very complex site, a lot of grading issues, a lot of opportunities, as we like to call them, to work with a wood frame building on a steep slope in a creative way. And they're doing fantastic. The amenities are awesome. We have a great interior designer with Hartman Design Team, and it really turned out very well. So we're happy to be there and have a client that we can look in the eye and say it was a fantastic project.
For Drew and Dan, is there any part of the Martin Architectural Group story that you haven't told that you'd like to share?
We're a fun-loving group. And, I affectionately call the staff the island of misfit toys because anybody who's worked in a large office knows that there's quirky personalities and interesting asides from every person in the office. And one thing that I say a lot during staff meetings and, pre-COVID and hopefully soon post-COVID at the company functions is that I love everybody in this company. And I truly mean it. My associate, Jamie Kelly, she has a saying, she goes, "I love you, but I don't like you right now." And that does ring true. We don't like everybody all the time, but I can truly say that I love everybody I work with at Martin. When we were named as incoming partners, Chuck Harker, the last founding partner that has recently retired, he asked us to go around the room as we were named and talk about, what we thought and everything. I said, well, when I got here, I had a 5-year plan. And that was 17 years ago. So that means a lot. When you find the right place with the right blend of people that makes the job interesting, fun, and, the 10, 12, 16-hour days go by very quickly because we're architects, that's what we do. But, it's a great place to work. It's been a great place to develop my career, and we're looking at some very talented young staff coming up through the ranks right now.
And Edwin, I would weigh in that one of the things that we tell everybody we interview, everybody we talk to that's a potential employee, whether they're just coming out of college, whether they're 10 years experienced architect, is we're really looking for that right personality that we can hand you off and control and go through all these projects with all the ownership that you have. So we'll be there and help you develop your skills, but we want you to take it all on, keep exceeding, And every person we interview, we are interviewing for our next partners. We need that growth. We need to make sure that we understand what that succession is. And we want folks to be able to feel that that is an absolute goal if they want to. And it really does help with what Drew was saying. We work with our clients very closely, and we have stayed a little closer in size than we could have been because we want to make sure that quality control and that direct relationship with the client is maintained. So we don't take on as many projects as we could because that is our most important selling feature if we're in sales is we have that direct connection to the partners and to the associates for every project. And that goes a long way when we're talking to our clients. And that's a great goal for our respective and future candidates, their employees.
Well, Dan and Drew, I want to thank you for sharing your story. It was enlightening, and I wish you the best of luck going forward. And as Dan knows, I'm in a Bazzuto building, so I guess that's a tribute. So we wish you the best of luck, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, and enjoy your home in the Bazzuto development. We'll make more.